honestly towards the end of the book. Like, you think you know what happens, and then you think you know what happens, and then you think you know what happens. It's really, really great. And I do think that kind of like slower pace in the beginning of the book is really paid off by the end of the book. So I would recommend it. Welcome back to another video. I'm so excited that you're here, and today we're going to be talking about my January wrap up. I'm excited to talk to you about the books that I've read this January and kind of my thoughts, good, bad, otherwise, of what I thought about them, and hopefully you'll take this as some advice whether you should add them to your TBR or not. I really enjoyed actually the books that I read this month, so I'm excited to talk to you about them. A little life update for me. I am actually just getting over strep throat. I last Saturday woke up with a terrible sore throat, and sore throats are things that I tend to get, like when I'm going to get sick. That is usually what happens. My throat usually hurts in some way, shape, or form. Not always strep, but just usually a sore throat. I'm sure there's a lot of like spiritual meaning behind that, but I woke up Saturday morning with a terrible strep throat. I honestly was not sure how I was going to get through the day and like take the kids to their activities and all of that. And if you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock, you know that most of the country, Midwest, all of that is experiencing a snowstorm, or was going to experience a snowstorm, you know, when Saturday came around. And I decided to go to urgent care just to be sure. I did not want to be snowed in with a sore throat, not really knowing what was going on. And this one felt like worse than other ones that I've had. Anyways, I went to the doctor. It immediately came up as strep, which I found bizarre because no one else in my family had strep. Like my husband didn't, and neither did my kids. So I don't know where I got strep throat, but nonetheless, it was positive. So I got my medicine, thankfully, because we truly were snowed in for 3 days. Here, I can just pan quickly and show you guys all the snow that's right outside this window right there. And that doesn't even probably give you a full view of everything that we experienced with the snow. It's been wild. We've just been in the house, staying away from the cold. It's been, I think yesterday it was negative 15, it felt like. That's what that was the feel like, was negative 15, which is just bizarre. So anyways, I'm just recovering from strep throat. I just wanted to give you a little life update. That's why I haven't posted a video in a couple weeks. So I'm excited that you're tuning in today, and we can jump into my January wrap up. So I mentioned this in my first video, and I just want to reiterate this here, that reading is a personal choice, and I don't think that it matters how much you read. There's all these things online around reading goals, and I mean, I've already seen people talk about reading 16 books in January and all of that stuff, and I love that for them. But for my life and everything I have going on, I am a full-time working mom. So, you know, I work full-time mostly out of the house, and of course I have 2 young ones as well. So I read when I can, in like the little pockets of quiet that I have throughout the day and the week. So I don't get to read 16 books a month, and that's okay. I'm reading books that I really enjoy, that I'm excited to talk about here and with the people in my day-to-day life. And reading 3 books in a month is pretty spectacular, I think. I mean, that's a little less than a book a week, which I still think is pretty awesome. So I read 3 books in January. I'm going to go through each one and tell you all about them, tell you what I thought about them, and if I recommend you adding them to your TBR. So the first one is When I Kill You by B.A. Paris. I know that title is a little bit in your face and not her typical titles, I feel like, but it really does encompass what this book is about. And I do want to say up front, I did receive this as an ARC, an advanced reader copy, through NetGalley. So I did get this book for free to read and review, but believe me, if I don't like the book, or if you ever hear me say that I received an ARC or something of that nature, all the opinions and thoughts are going to be my own. I actually don't think it's a bad thing if you don't like a book. I don't think you're going to like every single book that you read. But I just want to say that up front, that it will always be an honest review from me, regardless of if I received it as an ARC or if I bought it myself or got it off of my Kindle, whatnot. Anyways, back to the book. So When I Kill You by B.A. Paris, this book follows a girl called Nell Masters, and we kind of jump back into her past and then to present day, understanding something that happened in her past and the creepy things that are happening to her in her present. She feels like she's being followed. She feels like, things are just not right. Flowers are showing up on her doorstep and she doesn't know who they're from. And actually they're dead flowers. So who would send her dead flowers? Her boyfriend is kind of like in a long distance relationship. So this book is set in London, I believe. And so he has to fly back to the States every so often. And so the question is he who he says he is? And why has he not asked me to come with him on these trips? And some of these things happen when he's away, but some of my friends seem suspicious as well. And this thing happened to me, and could it be related to that? And I'm just terrified all the time, and all of these things. And without giving too much of the book away, of course, I really liked this book. It was different than I feel like a lot of the other books that she's written in this format of like the back and forth. And I think that really allowed you to take this like windy path and have these different thoughts, and you start to kind of accuse different people, and you see people in different lights throughout the book, and certain scenarios happen and you're questioning that, and then you realize some of these people were in her past. And so it was just a really interesting way of writing the story. And I don't think the twist was probably her biggest twist that she's had in the books that she's written. You guys know I love B.A. Paris, and my favorite book of hers is Behind Closed Doors. And the twist in that book I feel like is phenomenal. That was kind of my entry into thriller books, mystery books. And so I don't feel like this twist in When I Kill You was as strong as that, but I still feel like I was surprised. And when I did find out what was going on, kind of all the puzzle pieces started to connect. So that was a really fun read. Thank you to NetGalley for giving that book to me to read and review. Again, I'm a huge fan of B.A. Paris. I love her books. I'm excited to see what else she does next. And do I recommend you adding this to your TBR? Yes. If you like kind of fast-paced books, if you like trying to be the detective and trying to piece together what happened in someone's past and how that relates to what's currently going on in the story, this is a book for you. Like I said, it was fast-paced. I felt like the character development was good, and it did keep you kind of questioning all the way until the end. So yes, I do recommend that. Okay, number 2 was Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I have been on an Alice Feeney kick. I keep talking about her and I can't get enough of her books. I'm waiting for a dud from her, honestly, and I don't know if that's gonna happen because every book I've read of hers so far, I've loved. I will say, Sometimes I Lie is not my favorite of Alice Feeney's books, and that's okay. Again, not every book can be a gold star, and not every book is going to be a 5-star read, but I did like this book. There were times in the book when I was like, oh, like it's clocking, like I'm understanding what is happening now. I thought, so this is also a little bit of that same kind of narration where it goes a little bit into this girl's past and then into the present, and you're kind of trying to piece together what happens. So there is a girl named Amber I forget, Amber Reynolds. I was going to say I forget her last name, Amber Reynolds. And you start the book off and she is in a coma. But she can hear everything that's going on around her. So she can't open her eyes, she can't speak, she can't move, but she can hear everything that's happening around her. And she has no memory of why she's in a coma. She has no idea what happened. The last thing she knew, I think she was like at home, maybe having a glass of wine with either her husband or her sister, and then she not wakes up, but then she realizes like, holy crap, I'm in a coma and I can't move and I can't do anything, but I can hear everything that's going on around me. And that is such an interesting way to tell this story, because we know what's going on around her and we know who is coming in and out of the hospital room, and then every so often she falls back like into a really deep slumber and has this major memory and starts to kind of piece things together. And then we also go back to her past and see how those things build up to how she got to where she is now. There were so many twists in that book. Oh my gosh, I loved it. This was one of those books that like I could not wait until the kids went down to bed so that I could start reading this book, because I could not get through it fast enough. Alice Feeney is such a great thriller writer. I love that I have recently discovered her and her books. I mean, again, if you have read His and Hers, if you've read Rock, Paper, Scissors, and now Sometimes I Lie, like if you've read any of these, you know what I'm talking about. This book was really good. Again, not my favorite. It's going to be really hard to top His and Hers and Rock, Paper, Scissors, but it was definitely a good read, a good twist. You're not necessarily being a detective so much. You're just kind of following this story and trying to see how this all comes together and makes sense. But I definitely recommend adding this to your TBR. Talk about a fast read, like a fast-paced read. It is a fast-paced read. You want to know what happens and you want to know how this, and again, like how is this all gonna come together, because she's in a coma and it doesn't honestly look good for her. Like the odds don't look great. So I definitely recommend reading Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. It was a good one. And then number 3, I just randomly picked this book, like coming off of the high of When I Kill You and then Sometimes I Lie. I was just kind of chasing that thriller high of like, what should I read next? And I kept going through quite a few different books and I'm like, I tried the newest Colleen Hoover, Woman Down, and I couldn't get into that. I tried a few like Kindle Unlimited books that I saw when I was scrolling through my Kindle, and I was just like, none of these sound good. And I came across this book called Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders. Oh my gosh. It was so good. I've never heard of this author, so if you are a fan of Nicola Sanders, please let me know, other books of hers that I should read, because I'll definitely be checking her out. It was really good. Honestly, I will say though, there did come a point in the book when I almost didn't finish it and just put it to the side, because I was like, what? Like it was each day that happened, like, chapter after chapter, it sounded a lot the same, but now that I got to the end of the book and I realized what happened, it all makes sense why it was like that in the beginning. And so it was a really good book. It was about this wife and husband who just had a little baby, and then her husband from a previous marriage has a daughter, like a 20-year-old daughter, who wants to come and stay with them. And after her mother tragically passed, her and her father kind of didn't get along for a while. And so this is kind of her re-entry into her father's life, especially now that he has this new baby and this new wife, and just kind of trying to make amends and rebuild their relationship. And the wife is so excited because she's heard about this daughter and knew how important this daughter was to her current husband, and was just really like had open arms with her daughter, the stepdaughter coming to their house, and was so excited for all of that. And every time they're all together. The husband, the older daughter, and the wife are all together. The older daughter is like sweet as pie and, you know, trying to be so sweet to everyone. And then the second that it's just the wife and the daughter together, she is rude and she's mean and she's telling her that she needs to get out and leave. And her, you know, her dad, the wife's husband, is having an affair and she doesn't he doesn't love her and all of this stuff. And every time the wife tries to tell the husband, like, your daughter's being like really rude to me, he thinks she's making it up. He doesn't believe her at all and consistently takes the daughter's side. And so then it starts to be like, the wife is thinking, like, am I nuts? Like, am I going crazy? Which there is a history of like dementia and paranoia in her family history, which plays a part in the book. So she's wondering, like, am I kind of going down that road as well? Or like, are these things happening? Like, did I really forget that she said her birthday party was on Saturday, but now she's throwing a fit because it's Friday and the birthday party isn't set up? Like, I could have sworn she said Saturday. So it's these kind of things of just like, who's right, who's wrong? Did I remember this right? Am I going crazy? Like, what is this all for? And when you get, there's like a couple twists, honestly, towards the end of the book. Like, you think you know what happens, and then you think you know what happens, and then you think you know what happens. It's really, really great. And I do think that kind of like slower pace in the beginning of the book is really paid off by the end of the book. So I would recommend it if you're looking for something different and, you know, not something that everyone is talking about and isn't overhyped. I would recommend Don't Let Her Stay. There's another one by her that the title sounds similar, something like don't believe her, or something along those lines, by Nicola Sanders. So I'm gonna check that one out and see what I think, and of course I will let you guys know. But that's what we did for January. We did 3 books. I'm really proud of myself. I loved actually all 3 books that I read, and that doesn't always happen. Sometimes books don't get finished because you can't get into it, or life happens, who knows? But those are the 3 books that I read. I would love to know if you've read any of them, and if so, kind of what you thought about them. And what should I read in February? If you want to leave me a comment down below, I would love for you to give me some suggestions. Of course, my TBR is extremely long, but I'm always open to new recommendations. So thank you so much for tuning in today for my January wrap up, and I will see you in the next video real soon. Bye.